What is up, guys? It's Will, and today I'm going to be reacting to a video by, I forget the name, my bad, Ruslan KD. I think that's how you say his name. It is called Christian Pitches ADAM22 and Lenatheplug on Jesus in Monogamy. So obviously ADAM22 and his girlfriend or his wife have obviously been, a big discussion just on the internet. On YouTube, Twitter, because his wife is a porn star and she's had sex with different guys, and he's kind of been okay. I mean, he's been okay with it, but then like at the same time, it seems like he's not okay with it. It's a whole big thing. I'm sure, like, if you watching this video, I'm sure you already know what the fuck has gone on, so I don't need to really give y'all a recap. But it looks like someone in this video, some Christian dude, is gonna try to get them to be holy, or whatever that means. So yeah, let's get into the video.
I'm just perplexed by the motivation.
Basically just like, it's fun. Like, I look at my calendar and we're hooking up with a couple of chicks that day, and I'm like, oh wow, what a great Wednesday.
Man, there's just some podcasts most Christians avoid, whether it's because of their content or extremely thirst-trappy thumbnails. Some of these thumbnails are things that would cause most people to just completely abandon the internet.
Well, the internet's very sexual nowadays, so
rising through the ranks in this specific niche is the Whatever podcast. Now, you may have seen what's been going on with ADAM22 and his wife. If you haven't, very happy for you. Please don't Google it. But the Whatever podcast just decided to have ADAM22 and his wife on, and my friend Lila Rose was able to loop yours truly into the process. So I drove 4 hours to spend 4 hours on a dumpster fire of a podcast, and then drove 4 hours.
I haven't seen that podcast.
Made to my audience here asking, Ruslan, why would you appear on
Ruslan, my bad.
Some people may even be thinking that me appearing on a podcast like this could bring some of my audience over and potentially cause them to stumble. Some may even think that Christians even being involved in cultural hot topics like this is just not something we should be doing, as if it's beneath us somehow. And listen,
you can have discussions and shit. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Reasons with a specific Bible passage on why I decided to appear on this podcast. But first, let me give you some of the highlights from this conversation we had.
So like the argument against people engaging in sort of non-traditional relationships is kind of weak if you have to instantly pivot into like, well, what about the kids?
Yeah, I think there's a design.
It does affect the kids though.
Function in a one-man, one-woman covenantal arrangement. Now, I think everything outside of that is unhelpful, and I think there is something wrong with. I think porn is a total net negative to society. I'm not sure how many of you guys is like fans that watch you regularly, you've met in person, and how this affects them. But I mean, Andrew Huberman did a whole long thing about what happens when someone consumes. They open up a feedback loop that's intended to be consumed with someone else. So I think it's very hard to make the argument that it's helping people as much as it's harming people. It's keeping a lot of these guys regressed. It's keeping, the incel community, the red pill stuff, a lot of the people that rail against you. I
mean, I agree that porn, consuming it too much is, I would say, is negative. I don't think consuming it at all is, though. I mean, not everybody's fortunate enough to be in a relationship or wants to have sex with, just random people, and some people like to wait, or some people like to have a connection before they, happen to have sex. So porn is just kind of like another outlet to get out that sexual energy, which everyone fucking has, and everyone has to fucking release sexual energy. I think that's like something that's healthy for anybody. Like I said, as long as it's not over the top way. I think when you start watching porn so much to like where it's like completely affecting your judgment of what you are attracted to, what turns you on, how, if it actually affects you during actual sex, then that's when it's like, okay. Or if you see everyone as sexual, right? But I wouldn't say porn in general is a negative. I think if you consume it too much, it's just it's a variance. But I don't know.
There's probably secretly go and watch this stuff, which is a really bizarre thing. We've seen it with the fresh and fit girls. So I don't know if, as a net positive, this is something, remove the kids, like this is something that you think is actually adding to human flourishing.
Everyone tries to always focus on like the extreme watcher, but I think that there's like very healthy consumers, which are probably the majority of consumption.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think that like, women consume too, and I don't think they're sitting around all day just I mean,
there is some people like that, but that's not the majority of people. Not every. But even if you're not sitting around all day watching it, if you're just consuming it like damn near every day or like every day, like you set aside time every day to go, jack off to watch porn, and it's kind of like, even if it's not all day, it's like affecting your productivity, then that is problematic. But at the same time, that's not their fault necessarily. If they can make money doing it and that's how they want to live, then shit. I mean, that's, but it's not their fault that certain people choose to watch porn all day. That's not necessarily their fault. It's accessible to everybody. So,
consume it at a very moderate level. I don't know.
You guys created, so it's a bit different.
Why we feel comfortable doing it again, even after having been so massively in the news over the past couple of months.
Adam, you don't see the increase in opening your relationship up to risk, though. We're just giving you statistics.
I do think it affects the kids, though, with how they've been so public about everything.
Privately, you may not be. It seems like you guys have something special, and it seems like you guys have a child and a beautiful family. You decided to get married. You decided to say the vows. And it seems like there's this roaring going on inside of you guys where you have certain values and you have certain things that you want for your kids in this unit, yet at the same time, I'm just perplexed by the motivation.
I don't see those things to be contradictory, that we want to have a great life for our kids and stuff, and then we also are willing to, do
I'm talking about for your own union. Like it seems like this increases the likelihood of this potentially ending, which I don't want for you guys.
We've never really discussed it in those terms. I don't think of it that way, and I think if anything, it kind of made our sex life a little bit more exciting for a period of time. Just the fact that I had a little bit of competition, a little bit more of a reason to go hard,
All right, it's official.
I have never. I mean, I guess like me personally, I don't care about competition. Like, if I'm in a relationship, I don't think I wouldn't want to share that person sexually if I'm in a relationship. Like I just feel like if we're in a relationship, like we should keep that to each other. I feel like, but obviously, and like again, I'm not trying to be judgmental. Like how they choose to be is how they choose to be. Like, but that's a different perspective that I've never heard.
Took some work, took some maneuvering, but we are now offering a virtual ticket to our live podcast event.
Study music production online with Berkeley's renowned faculty. Download your free music production handbook now at
Southern California.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Where
is it? Oh my god, okay. My fault.
There's a freedom to get more information.
That I was taking mad long.
I don't necessarily think that's the worst thing.
There's a freedom inside of a covenantal relationship to try things and to explore and to do things that if you're out here and you're raw dogging it, you don't know who has what and all the stipulations that go into that life, there's a freedom you have, there's a protection you have, there's a trust that you have in a relationship where it's just you and another person.
And that's why I do think that the sexual revolution has overall been probably negative for most women, because the truth is that as a man, you can have sex with any woman and, bust in 5-10 minutes and you're good, you just had a good time. Whereas for a woman, realistically, the first time you have sex with a guy, you have like an infinitesimal percentage chance that you're going to, and you're realistically only going to end up having positive experiences by sleeping with the same guy over and over and really learning how to connect with him.
I mean, for women, I mean, obviously I'm not a woman, so I wouldn't know everything. I'm just going based off what I've heard from women in the past, is that sex is a lot more emotional for them, and like, so I think that's why women tend to, like, usually, like, they don't want to have sex with just anybody typically, like, not every woman, but they typically seem to, want to have sex with someone that they have a connection with and all that type of stuff.
It's called marriage.
Totally, and I get that. I also just think women, should feel free to do what they want to do, but I also, in terms of what I would tell, any woman in my life, what I would recommend for them, I would say, hold your in high esteem.
Porn aside, if my daughter was wanted to explore her, I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's unethical.
But you guys just both acknowledge you wouldn't want your daughter to do that.
It wouldn't be
it's
my
not
ideal
my first choice,
thing.
but
so
it's
isn't that
also
a bit inconsistent, though, to create something that you wouldn't want your offspring? We want our kids to be better than us, so why would you want them to do that? If they're aspiring for
I feel like what I'm doing allows my daughter to have a better life. We're going to be able to put her through private school because I have the life that I have now. I wouldn't have been able to give her that without that.
My dad was a social worker, and for sure, he wanted me to be something bigger and better than a social worker. You know, it's
Yeah.
like you always want your kid to do better than you would
Of
want
course.
to do.
That's-
you know,
that's
I
a
would
fair
love if
point.
my daughter was, you know, some famed, you know, artist or something. That would be amazing. Do I necessarily think that that's in the cards? I mean, that's kind of a roll of the dice. You never know what your kid's going to get.
How much
into.
is
But
it?
if you
How much
just-
is enough? Like financially, like at what point does it just like you I feel like you guys intrinsically know this isn't helpful.
No, I think it's as long as you're having fun. Like
Yeah.
whenever we go and
But is there a
porn in
dollar
a day,
amount?
it's like
No, it's not a dollar
it's
amount.
basically just like it's fun. Like I look at my calendar and we're hooking up with a couple of chicks that day, and I'm like, oh wow, what a great Wednesday. It's like
But yeah,
very
it's like
profitable
if
and
it didn't
fun.
feel
My only problem is like when it's been so public, like I said, and I do think that does begin to affect kids just because like that type of stuff goes like at school, kids are gonna talk about that if they hear about it, especially when they're getting older and they reach middle school, high school years. Kids are gonna, you know, make fun of, bring that shit up, and that's just gonna be just constantly talked about, and that's where I think it could be problematic for the kids. And just when they grow up seeing their parents, you know, in porn or seeing that, you know, even though it provided for them, how does that make them feel? It is interesting to look at it like that.
anymore. Like
Yeah.
there are
I
times
mean,
where-
meth feels good.
like sometimes we have more on camera than we do off camera, and those weeks I don't feel like as connected to him. I'm like, wow, we've just been working so
Meth
much.
and
Like,
sex
I don't
is
feel like we've been
completely
fostering
different.
a relationship. And in those weeks, if like we didn't take that break and that pause and talk about it and reconnect, then I could see myself being like, I don't want to do this anymore because it's interfering with our relationship.
And it does feel good, but the downside of meth is much worse.
Do you
think
Because
there's any
having
down-
actually done it, it's not that great. Whereas
Yeah, that's
the
why I was.
downside of
It's
having,
completely
you know,
different.
with some girl on camera is that at the end of the money, you get a bunch of money in the mail. So to me,
In the
it's
interim,
very different.
you guys don't know potential consequences down the road.
I mean, we've been doing it for a long time, and I wouldn't really say that we've encountered many negative consequences from it. Just a
But
bunch
I guess-
of fun and cash.
Oh, and those weren't even the best moments in my opinion. The best moment in this conversation I'm going to save till the end. But first, I wanted to share what this reminded me of. Back in November, I had the amazing opportunity of going to Israel for the very first time. And I got to go to the Sea of Galilee, where Jesus launches into his public ministry. I got to experience the layout of Israel and get a newfound respect of how far Jesus' hometown Nazareth is to the city of Galilee. A small port
Okay,
city
I'm not
where
trying to.
I think is this best moment. What Lila said was this beautiful picture of this acceptance in a marriage, and also desiring to take care of yourself for your partner, to serve your partner, right? And I've been with my wife 15 years. We've both been overweight. I've been obese. She's had kids. We're in better shape now. We're lean. It's something that's a value of ours. My question would just simply be, it seems like, well, we've all tried all of these things. We've tried all of these ideologies and all these puzzles that we have to piece together. Have you guys ever genuinely considered like trying Jesus, repenting of your sin, and really applying God's wisdom?
Yeah, Adam.
For your life? And that's not just
Not so
I'm-
much.
I'm genuinely asking. You're Armenian. Our people have a beautiful, rich history. We're the first Armenian nation. We didn't have a written language until we translated the Bible into a written language. We have an amazing, rich, the most persecuted church, right? So, like genuinely, like it seems like we've tried all these other things. We've tried doing it our own way. We're trying all this ideology. We're trying all these. Where's the line? And you know, have we genuinely ever looked at the scriptures and considered that maybe Jesus is who he says he is? Maybe he is God. Maybe he's not a liar. Maybe he's not a lunatic. Maybe he's not a good prophet. And genuinely repented of our ways and tried it God's way.
I 1000% believe in God and Jesus and know all of that.
That wasn't what I asked.
But you don't understand my point of view.
I don't think like doing all this means you don't like. I don't know if that's what he's alluding to. I don't think having sex and all this different shit and like being a sex worker means you don't believe in God or you don't have faith. Like, I don't know if that's what he's trying to say, but I don't think that's what that means. If you know,
Like, what would happen if all of society actually implemented the wisdom of God? Like, genuine question. If people waited until marriage just to have...
I'm sorry, but you could say wait till marriage to have sex, but some people just want to know. Because if you get married to someone that you don't have sexual chemistry with, and you don't, like, it's just like, bro, that's a big part of a relationship. You can sit here and try to act like it's not, but it is. Like, sex is a big part of a relationship, and if I don't know if I like having sex with you, I'm not getting married to you. I don't get why we, like, bro, I just think like if you want to do that, cool, but I just don't think you should make it seem like someone else, you know, not doing it is unethical. Like, I mean, if you want to say you don't want people sleeping around with just anybody, I mean, okay, even that, like, people can do what they want with their body, but like, I just think like that's a stretch to be like, you can't have, like, you not having sex till marriage, or you waiting to have sex until you're married is just the only way it should be done.
Truthfully, you're asking me about religion?
Specifically about Jesus.
About Jesus?
Hinging your faith on the resurrection of Jesus.
Me. I know that.
And living your life his way.
I'm a man of God. That's all I
I'm
can
a
say.
woman of God.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, I think I'll just leave it at that.
Personally, you know, I've done quite a bit of research and digging and trying to convince myself that Jesus was a real person or that I should be invested in his teachings. Haven't really been too convinced, so I'm still kind of waiting to be convinced that.
So he's kind of like on the atheist side.
The majority of thinkers that I respect or read or listen to are atheists. So for me personally, it's not really an issue. Like, there's just not enough evidence to me that there's anything of value to offer from Christianity. It's like, realistically, probably the best thing that you could do is like fall in love, get into a relationship with a girl, get married, split your expenses, have a family, etc. once you feel comfortable financially. But like, you know, we just live in a society where we're constantly surrounded by people who are putting on examples of doing the other thing, which is basically like mindlessly chasing and you know, highs and money or whatever for your whole life. And that is kind of like a weird thing that the manosphere has to sort of reckon with, which is that somebody like Andrew Tate being like at the forefront of the manosphere now, it's like you can't really necessarily just be pushing an agenda of like, yo, as many girls as possible.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Andrew Tate is out here saying like, no, that is not going to make you happy in the long run.
At all.
And anyone who's really being honest with you is going to let you know that's not going to make you happy in the long run.
That was very profound. And I think what we're saying is, statistically speaking, the majority of men and women will have kids. What is the optimal way to build a family? If we're talking about dating, we're talking about relationships, what is the optimal way to cause the most amount of flourishing to the most amount of people? And what has worked through and through all these civilizations? I think that's the crux of what we're getting on. So what you're saying is totally spot on. And it's not red pill, blue pill to me. There's a lot of goofy things from both sides, a lot of nonsense being pushed. But if we're talking about...
I don't know why people buy into that shit.
Because we're all going to eventually have kids, majority of us anyway. How does that look? Listen, I totally understand that these environments are not for everybody. But if you want to see a time where I got to go onto Valuetainment and share the gospel with a different OnlyFans model.
All right, it looks like this video's over. But, I mean, hey, I think what they choose to do with their life is what they choose to do. They ain't hurting nobody at the end of the day. Now, their kid, like, that's something they're going to have to think about, because if their kid comes home talking about, you know, people bringing up their mom and dad's porn scenes, that is a problem. And that your mom's, you know, having sex with other people than your dad, like that's when it could be a little bit problematic. And I think that's when they'll probably scale back a little bit. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's their life, and I just think like what they choose to do, just that's what they want to do. So I don't think we need to be sitting here being so judgmental and critical. Even if we don't agree, like, hey, I mean, it is what it is. And I mean, you don't do that in your life so you can be happy, and if that's what they want to do to be happy, then let them be happy. But yeah, that's all I got to say about this. Interesting video for sure. Let me know what else y'all would like me to react to, and it's been Will. Peace.